Hello and welcome. My name is Johnny. I'm a Toyota Master Diagnostic Technician, and I've been working on cars professionally since 1998. I also have been ASE certified since 2001, so I've been doing this for a while. I spend a lot of time outside of work assisting other technicians with ASE certification prep, and I started building these PowerPoint presentations to help speed things up. So I decided to publish them to YouTube in order to help anyone else out looking to become ASE certified. This is part one for the ASE test A4, which is the first test I suggest you take. And the test covers steering, suspension, and alignments. But before we talk about any of that, we need to talk about tires. So here we go. First things first, this tire information placard should be located on all cars when you get into the driver's side front door, located at the lower B pillar. They give us a whole heck of a lot of information. This video is going to be talking about tire size, and that's where the original manufacturer's recommended tire size will be located. Just to clear things up, let's delete the rest of this information for now. And we're looking at these numbers and letters. And I'm actually going to clean this up a little bit here too for this video. I'm going to get rid of the P, the R, and the 98V. So we're left with this 245, division symbol, 50, 17. The 245 represents our section width, which is the width of the tire. The 50 represents the section height. That is a percentage of the width of the tire. Once we do the math for that, we'll know how tall the sidewall is. And finally, the 17 represents the rim size. So if we were to look at a cutaway of a tire and talk about the section width, this is kind of what we're dealing with. It's measuring the outermost portion of the inner sidewall versus the outer sidewall. How far away from each other are they? And in this example, they're 245 millimeters apart. So our tire is 245 millimeters wide. Now, we want to convert this to inches for the rest to figure out the rest of what's going on here. And so we need to know the conversion factor. Now you can have a conversion calculator, but I do suggest you try to memorize this. And it's 25.4. There are exactly 25.4 millimeters in 1 inch. So if we want to convert the 245 millimeters in inches, we divide 245 by 25.4. And we end up getting 9.65 inches approximately. So this tire is 9.65 inches wide. It's also 245 millimeters wide. The section height is our aspect ratio. It is a percentage of the first value. So 50 is 50%. Just imagine having a percentage symbol right after that 50. So if it were a 265, 60 tire, the 60 would represent 60% of the first number. So in order to figure this out, we take the 245, we multiply it by 0.5. Or if it were a 265 60 tire, we would multiply the 265 by 0.6. And then we would get our sidewall height in millimeters. But then we need to convert that into inches. So we take the 122.5 millimeters, divide it by that 25.4, and we are left with 4.82 inches. So the sidewall of this tire is 122.5 millimeters tall. It is also 4.82 inches tall. And finally, our 17 is our or rim diameter, and that is represented in inches. This one is the easiest one, I guess. We don't have to convert anything. So if we wanted to know the total tire diameter, we need to kind of take a quick look here and realize, well, from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, that's our tire diameter, but we have two sidewalls to account for. We have one on the bottom and one on the top. So now we can plug those numbers in. So we have that 4.83, we have to multiply that by 2 or just add, them together. And additionally, we have to add the 17-inch rim. And we get our tire diameter, which is 26.66 inches. Now, I grabbed a calculator for this PowerPoint and started doing a little bit of algebra. And this is probably, I'm sure it's not something I made up, but I've never seen it before. And this is a pretty quick way to calculate your tire diameter. If you first just multiply the first two numbers together, 245, multiply that by 50. In this example, we get 12,250. And then if we take that value and we divide it by 1,270, we get 9.66 inches. So what that 1270 does is it basically, I factored in the 25.4 millimeter conversion going from that sidewall or the cross-sectional width, the width of the tire, factoring in that ratio and multiplying it by 2 after converting the 25.4. So that value is the two sidewalls added together as well. And this will work with any tire. And then we just simply have to add the 17. And then we get our 26.66. So if you wanted just to remember that 1270, you can multiply the two values together, divide it by 1270, and then add your 17. So here's some review. I'm going to do some review on all of these to kind of represent what the ASE tests are kind of looking for, or the way they phrase these questions. Two technicians are discussing a P195 65 R15 tire. Technician A says the tire's sidewall height is 195 millimeters. Technician B says the tire will need to be mounted on a 15-inch diameter wheel. Who is right? A lot of these questions are Tech A, Tech B, and they can be tricky. And I'm going to give you some tips on this right now. So our options usually look something like this: Technician A, Technician B, both or neither. Usually they're phrased A only, B only, both or neither. But you always want to realize with these questions that you're answering two true or false statements, and you should answer them separately. Even if it says two technicians are discussing something, no, they're not. You don't need to, that sentence doesn't need to be there to answer this question correctly. They're not two technicians arguing with each other. I always suggest thinking technician A lives in New York, technician B lives in, Texas, and they don't know each other. And when you make a decision about one of these texts, as long as your decision is not, I don't know, if it's yes or no, you get to cross two answers off. And we're not looking for the right answer. We're looking for the wrong answers, and we're going to cross those off until we're just left with one answer. That's how you want to attack questions, in my opinion, on any test. Doesn't have to be an automotive test. So let's break into this. Technician A says the sidewall height is 195 millimeters. Well, we see the 195, and we just said that is that is how wide your tire is. That's your cross-sectional width. That's not the height, the sidewall. So A is wrong. And if A is wrong, we can cross A off. but we can also cross another one off. I'll give you a second to think about it. Pause the video if you want. The answer is C, because if A is wrong, they both cannot be right. So without even reading B, we've already eliminated two of the possible answers. So we have a 50-50. Even if we don't know the answer for B, we have a coin flip guess, which is a heck of a lot better than, just guessing from the start. No matter what, if you make a decision about one technician, you get to cross two off. If Tech A was right, we would cross off A by himself, or we would cross off B and D. So now let's read B. B says the tire will need to be mounted on a 15-inch diameter wheel. Well, we look up to the tire size again and we see that R15. Now the R does not stand for rim. A lot of people think it does. It stands for radial. It's a radial tire. But the 15 does stand for a 15-inch rim. So we see a 15 and a 15. That looks good to me. I mean, if we had a 16-inch wheel, good luck wrapping that tire around it, and vice versa. If we had a smaller rim, it's not going to hold air. So I like B. And if I like B, I cross off D. So now we've eliminated all the wrong answers and we're only left with one. Technician B. And there are 5 questions on this test that are tire basic, tire and wheel basics questions. We're going to cover pretty much anything you're going to see on the test about that. And it's only 5 questions, but you only need to get 26 right out of 40 in this test. And so if you think about the 40 questions, you do the math, each question's worth 2.5%. That's total, each question. If you don't pass this test, you only get 25 out of 26. Those questions are worth a heck of a lot more than that. Where just these 5 questions, if you just multiplied that by the 2.5, it's still 12.5% of your test. But if you don't pass this test and it's because of one of these questions, these 5 questions are worth over 19% of your test. So it's a good idea to review this stuff, because no matter what it's easy to get some of this stuff backwards if you haven't gone back in recently. And finally, I got a extra credit thing. I want to hear your guys' opinions on this. If larger diameter tires are installed on a vehicle, how will they affect the speedometer, the odometer, and the estimated miles per gallon? These are not questions that'll be on your ASE test, but they are important to talk about. And please comment. Let me know what you think. I want to keep making these videos. I'm going to keep making these videos, but if you could like the video if you liked it, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff, hit the notification bell or whatever. Thanks a lot for your time, guys. I'll try to get the next videos in as soon as possible.